Welcome to my channel, Bring Peace into Your Life. Today I would like to talk about anxiety and negativity. When we are anxious, what happens is the more anxious we become and the more situations we become anxious in, the more we end up in what we call the fight or flight system. So you're constantly anxious, you're hyper vigilant, you're hyper aware, you're constantly looking for things to go wrong or signs of danger. And when you do that, it actually starts to affect your brain. So your brain starts to be wired to think that nothing will work out and to look for things that are going wrong. And that can be a very difficult place when you're stuck there. And a lot of clients that I work with say to me, I don't want to be anxious, Em, I want to do something about this and I want to change this. And that's where we can start looking at brain chemistry and start to change the narrative that you're telling yourself. When we do feel anxious and like everything's going to go wrong, it goes into what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. You think it will go wrong, you think you'll fail, so therefore you will, and things will be put in your way. And then you find it more difficult to deal with things. But you can actually rewire your brain. So what I'm going to talk about today is acting as if everything will work out. And when you do that, it actually starts to change your brain neurologically. So it can stop the negative thinking, the worry, the disappointment. So acting as if you are positive, acting as if you are in that good headspace and you think things will go right, can actually change your whole perspective. I don't know if you've heard of the saying, but fake it till you make it. So if you put yourself forward into these situations where you would normally be scared, but you are acting like you're okay, you're going to be okay, and you're going to make it, that can actually make a massive difference. Most people think it's deluding yourself with that and it's fake, but actually it's not. It's about retraining your brain to see more positives and to see more opportunities in life, and that can be very, very beneficial. It's not about denying the reality or the pain you're going through or the difficulties you're going through, but it's choosing the meaning that you give to it. So it's about saying, I'm going through a difficult time, but I will get through this. It's working on knowing that things will work out for you, and where you end up is where you needed to be. So having faith in this and having faith on the journey is really important. It's a way of walking through the world and not being bogged down by things that are thrown at you and scenarios that happen. If you think nothing will work out for you, you anticipate problems and presume people will disappoint you. You go into things expecting to fail and you take yourself out of things before you even start. So you discount yourself. You say to yourself, I'm never going to achieve that. I'm never going to get anywhere with this. So I'm actually not even going to try. And quite often people even stop themselves trying something because they're so anxious about what will happen. My husband is very pragmatic with this. So for him, if he fails, he learns. And if he doesn't get into the situation or even try, he will not do it, because for him it's all about trying, getting into a situation, trying to do things, trying new things. And if he succeeds, then fantastic, but if he doesn't, he's learned along the way and he picks himself back up again and moves forward. And I think that's actually a really helpful way to think about things and think about the world. When you are in that hyper aware state, you're training your brain to be closed off. You're training your brain to be hyper vigilant, to be anxious, to actively search for what is wrong or what could go wrong in your life. And you end up in the fight or flight. You're ready to run away or you're ready to fight. And that's your focus. It's a survival mode. And you end up in a survival mode where you can't actually think about anything else bar surviving. You'll still feel fear and uncertainty if you are being more positive, but you will face the challenges and you'll feel that you can beat those challenges and get through the other side, and that's really important. So it's about looking at living as if life is happening for you rather than to you. So you are actually an active participant in your life, and it's about doing as much as you can to live your life fully. Everything that's happened to me in my life, especially challenges, has been brought to me to make my life better. It's been brought to me to put me down a path that I will succeed and I will achieve down the other side of that path. And that's what we need to try and see life as. Life is important, it's valuable, and it's about making sure that we make the most of our life. Shifting from worst case scenario to this is going to work out for me is a very good way of seeing things. So it's about shifting your perspective. It's about shifting the narrative rather than having the negative language all the time. It's about looking at talking to yourself in a positive way, being kinder to yourself and more empathic about yourself. And really, if you are going through a difficult time, it's not beating yourself up when you're down. Your brain is always trying to predict the future. It looks at past experiences, your current environment, and the thoughts and beliefs you have about yourself and the world. So if your thoughts are negative, you're expecting danger, you're expecting loss, you're expecting disappointment, that will start to become your norm and your reality. And that's where we talk about like the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you are living in fear all the time and in that fight or flight system, it becomes it makes it low logic. So you can't be logical in that moment if you're in fear, and your nervous system ends up having chronic stress patterns, which actually can really cause a lot of health issues because your body is in a high state of stress all the time, and that can cause issues like IBS symptoms, stomach issues. It can cause a lot of difficulty to sleep, and then that in turn makes the situation worse. So if we are training our brain and our thoughts to expect and create the emotional reality you always have, if you can think differently, thinking this will work out for me, I'll always figure things out, this will happen, this is happening for me, and I am going to take control of this. You're training your brain to expect and actively look for solutions and support and opportunities over time. Now, this does take time, but the more we do this and the more we think, actually, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to be okay, it then brings the threat level down and the fear level down, and that can be really helpful and put you in a place where your nervous system is not overreacting. In that sense, your brain has more access to logic, it's creative, and it has longer term thinking, which will then make you better at problem solving and help you when things are difficult. When your nervous system spends more time in the regulated state, it produces clearer thinking and better decision making. And that then means that you can make the decisions that you need to make and help you move forward in any situation that's happening. You become a different person when you think differently. In this sense, you will be able to spot opportunities and to see solutions where you would only see problems in the past. It's training your brain to see growth where you might have missed this in the past because you were so worried about what was going to happen. What you think, you create. Your thoughts really shape your emotional state, and that then shapes your actions, and your actions shape your results. The lens that you see the world through matters. Your energy will be different because you're no longer stuck in a fearful state. You become more honest and authentic, and really you become more truly yourself. You become someone who trusts themselves and trusts that even if you fail, you will get back up again. Like I was saying about my husband, he always says, if I don't try, I'm not going to know. So he puts himself into situations where he is developing himself and actually working through any fear that he may have. What you repeat, you become. So that's what we're talking about the brain. It's neuroplasticity. So if you keep repeating to yourself, I'm capable, I can do this, I can get through this, your brain changes due to the repetition and the emotion of that, and it can be very helpful and really make you feel a lot less anxious and a lot more capable. Within an average day, we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts, and most of those thoughts are built up from the day before, from what we've been doing, what's been happening, the reality of our life. If we're always looking at the worst case scenario, this then brings uncertainty, which makes you feel danger, and you shut down and you're in that panic state. If you are more positive about it and you think of uncertainty as something that is going to happen in life, you end up being curious. When you're curious, that produces courage and action, and then you can trust yourself and trust the scenario. And that's really important. So it's about all these little steps that get you to a more positive person and a place where you're not as worried and you feel capable. What happens is the world changes when your perception changes. So you'll keep finding evidence either of how life is against you or with you, depending on your mindset. So if we can work on this, it's all about working on it one step at a time, one day at a time, to try and change your default setting. So if your default setting is anxiety, is worry, is stress, is fear, we can change that and change your perspective into being more positive. You'll do things that used to scare you, and you might still feel scared, but you'll not feel as scared as you used to, because you'll be telling yourself that everything is going to work out in the end. And even if I fail, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to do these things again. So step by step, you're becoming the type of person by acting as if you are that person and acting as if everything is always working out for you. So you might not be that positive person right away, but it's about taking steps each day to work on being more confident and being able to handle things. What I would suggest is, from this day forward, I want you to think what your default beliefs are. What do you tell yourself is not good? What do you tell yourself in your narrative? Are you in an anxious state? If you can change your default to believe that in the end that everything works out for you, because you always show up, you always learn, and you always get better. Imagine how differently you would handle setbacks, how you would walk into opportunities that you didn't see before because you were so anxious and closed down. You would show up in relationships better, and you would talk to yourself in a better way and treat yourself better. Treat yourself with compassion and empathy. So for the next 7 days, if something goes quote unquote wrong, just pause and say out loud, this is working out for me somehow. Ask yourself, how might this be working out for you? Take one small action each day the future you would need to take. And further down the line, you will be that person. So the next 7 days, push yourself out of your comfort zone. Say to yourself, before I would have thought, this is not going to work, so I'm not going to try. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try. I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to see what comes out of it. If you fail, that's okay. But if you're never in the game, you're never going to actually find out, and you're never going to achieve anything. So if you put yourself in the game and you fail and you fall down, you pick yourself up again and you try again, and you learn from your experiences and you learn from those failures. So I hope that this video has helped. I hope that you put yourself in situations that are better for you. I hope you become more positive about yourself, and I hope you become less anxious and feel more capable to handle things. If you have any comments about what you've done to help yourself be more positive and live less fearful, put it in the comments, and hopefully that will help someone. If you have any questions about maybe what you could do about a scenario, please also do that and interact with people in the comments. It's been lovely doing another video for you, and I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.